What's going on, everybody? It's AG here. Let's go ahead and talk final bubble watch heading into Sunday. I think it's pretty set in stone. No games tonight are going to affect the bubble at all, that I think. So we're going to talk about last four buys, last four in. It's going to be a little different than usual. I'm going to give you all the teams that are possible for those last spots, and we'll break down who should be in and just kind of what's going to affect the bubble. All right. So first off, let's talk last four buys. So last four buys are going to somehow consist of these teams. Baylor, West Virginia, those are the two teams out of the Big 12 that could be in the last four buys. Oklahoma, Vanderbilt, Arkansas, three of those teams right now. Two of those are going to be probably somewhere in that area. New Mexico, San Diego State, and Utah State. Now, in addition to last four buys, as of right now, there's only one potential bid thief left, and that is the American Conference. UAB faces Memphis tomorrow. If they beat Memphis, which they did last year, that means three of these teams that are listed here are going to be in Dayton in the last four in. As of right now, assuming Memphis wins tomorrow against UAB, that means two of these teams are going to be in the last four in. So who is that? I don't know. As of right now, I would probably lean towards one of the SECs. I think both the Big 12 schools are safe. So if we're asking me which two of these right now are in the last four in, I would say one of the SEC schools. I don't think it's Arkansas, so probably Oklahoma or Vanderbilt, and then one of the Mountain West schools. Now, if Boise State gets left out, I think two of the Mountain West schools will probably go, which would mean one SEC school. But as of right now, that's kind of what I think is going to happen. Now, as far as the last four in, all right, so two of these schools plus one of these teams. Okay. Now, if UAB wins, that means only one of these teams is getting in that's listed right here. But assuming Memphis wins, that means the last four in, so the first four playing games on Monday and Tuesday, or Tuesday and Wednesday, whenever they are, will be two of the teams you just saw, and then two of the following. All right, so we're going to break down all these teams' quad one wins and stuff like that. So, two or one of these teams: Texas, Indiana, North Carolina, Xavier, Boise State. So before we dive into this, go ahead and think, have it in your mind, comment down below who you think is getting in out of these two teams. With that being said, let's go ahead and go one by one here. First off, let's look at Texas. All right, so you got their quad one wins here. You can kind of see it. So Texas, a lot of losses, 19 and 15, but a pretty solid resume. They don't have any losses outside of quad one and quad two. 7 wins in quad one. Oklahoma, Missouri, A&M, Kentucky. Kentucky was a little depleted during that game, but still. Then you got Mississippi State and Vanderbilt. All those teams are locks right here. And then in quad two, you've got ones over St. Joseph's, which is sort of on the bubble, but they're out. Arkansas, Georgia, Oklahoma, but bad losses to South Carolina. Other than that, though, I mean, these are all tournament teams right here that you lost to. So they'd only have, one loss against a team that's not in the tournament. I think Texas right now is probably in, just when you're comparing resumes. All right, next up, let's look at Indiana. 19 and 13 right now, but they don't have a loss outside of quad one. Now, they don't have the wins some of these teams have that we're going to talk about here in a minute, but they also don't have any bad losses. They're one of the few teams that doesn't have a loss out of quad one. Win wise, though, quad one, Penn State. I don't know how a away game in Penn State's a quad one win. That's kind of questionable right there. Away win at Ohio State, again, kind of similar. Both those teams aren't getting in the tournament, so I don't know how I feel about those. Michigan State, that's a good win. That's 2 seed. And then Purdue, team in like 6, 4, 5, somewhere in that seed range. So those are good wins. Now, Ohio State and Penn State, that really doesn't do anything for me. So it depends on how much the committee really looks at, like, the teams that are actually getting beat instead of just looking at the quadrants. They have a quad one win. Okay, check mark. But if you go ahead and look, Penn State and Ohio State more than Penn State, but Penn State, that shouldn't be a quad one win. I don't get that. So far I would say Texas is in over Indiana. All right, so now let's get to North Carolina. 22 and 13, a lot of wins, but breaking this down, only one win against a team in the tournament in UCLA. I mean, you look at the rest of their wins. Dayton, is that their second best win? Is that really getting you in if that's your second best win? I don't know. They've had their chances. They had their chance last night against a depleted Duke team to get that chance. Now, they have a lot of close losses. You look at those top ones in quad one, 3-point loss to Kansas, loss to Auburn, 3-point loss to Michigan State, Alabama, Florida. Those are all 1 and 2 seeds. So those are good losses. Not the Kansas one, but those are good losses. But then again, you're still losing. So they've lost a lot of games to a lot of teams on the 1 and 2 seed line, but still, you have to, I think, win at some point to get that recognition. So as of right now, I'd probably say Indiana over North Carolina, but that's almost a toss up. I think Texas has a better resume than both of them. But Indiana and North Carolina, kind of a toss up. North Carolina might actually have the edge. They don't have the wins, but then again, looking at Indiana's quad one wins, they're not that impressive to me. Penn State and Ohio State isn't moving the needle for me. All right, so next up, Xavier, 21-11 on the year, wins over Marquette. They've also got a win over UConn and Creighton, but those are for some reason in quad two. But I think those are good wins nonetheless. I think UConn and Creighton are more impressive than probably some of the wins that North Carolina and Indiana are claiming as quad one, quad two wins. But Xavier only one win though against quad one. Does that come back to bite you? I think it does. They've got too many losses in that category and not enough wins in quad one. So I think Xavier is out. I would have Indiana and North Carolina over them probably, but Xavier does have a puncher's chance. All right, so then Boise State, 24-9, quad one, 3-5. They got wins over Clemson, St. Mary's, and New Mexico. I think Clemson and St. Mary's are both good wins. But again, some of these teams, like first off, San Francisco, a loss to them, that's probably not a quad one loss, even though we're saying it is. San Francisco's not in the tournament. And then other win-wise, New Mexico, San Diego State, those are both tournament teams. So I would have Boise over probably North Carolina and Indiana just because they've beaten Clemson and St. Mary's, which are two quality teams. We're going to talk about one more team here, though, that could be on the radar that a lot of people are arguing out of the Big West. Should they be a two-bid team, two-bid league? As of right now, they're playing UC San Diego and UC Irvine, so it's still up in the air. But UC San Diego definitely has the better resume. Some people are saying they should be in over one of these teams we're talking about. Okay, so if it comes down to one or two bids, either way. But in quad one, they've got a close loss to San Diego State, a win over Utah State, then a win over UC Irvine. So assuming UC Irvine beats them, because UC Irvine definitely doesn't have the metrics to get in as an at-large team, but assuming UC Irvine wins the night, UC San Diego would have 2 wins over tournament teams and Utah State, and UC Irvine, but they have kind of bad losses in quad 3 against Seattle and UC Riverside. So I don't think they have a chance. Another team is VCU. People will talk about. I don't think they've got a chance either if they're at large. I think they've got to win their conference. But that's kind of everybody's metrics. I think out of everything we've seen here, I think it's probably Texas and Boise State. I don't see how North Carolina or Xavier have an argument really. So I think it's 2 of the 3 of Texas, Indiana, and Boise State, but I'd probably lean Texas and Boise. And if it comes down to just one team, if UAB wins, I'm probably leaning Texas. Now, who will join them in the first 4? I don't know. I don't know who would join Texas if that was the case. If 3 of these teams had to go, I'd probably say Utah State, San Diego State, and I don't know, maybe Oklahoma. But that's who knows. But I don't think they'll put 3 teams from the Mountain West in the first 4. But as of right now, that's kind of the bubble picture. We'll see kind of what happens tomorrow. But let me know, who do you think the last 4 in are? Comment down below. Make sure to like this video and subscribe.